Welcome, everybody, to the first ever edition of the All Things Wrestling podcast. We do podcasts here almost every single day. WWE, WWF, ECW, and WCW. Today, we're going to be starting with the controversy at WCW Starrcade 1997 when Hollywood Hulk Hogan and Sting had their controversy. And when I say we on this podcast, I'm here with my guy, Dreas. Say what's up, my man.
Yeah.
Dreas is here with us. So pretty much I'm going to go ahead and run down the card for you guys real quick. We start off with the Cruiserweight title match with Dean Malenko and Eddie Guerrero. Scott Hall comes out for a promo. Then we have the NWO versus WCW when the Steiners and Ray Taylor with their manager Ted DiBiase take on Scott Norton, Vincent, and it's supposed to be Conan, but with the NWO rules, Conan does not actually come out. It actually ends up being the Macho Man Randy Savage. Then the next match we have is, actually not the next match, Mean Gene Okerlund comes out to give everybody the WCW hotline number. And then J.J. Dillon, the commissioner of WCW, actually announces the ref for the Sting Hogan match. It actually ends up being somebody that we'll say later in the show. Alright, as well we have here when Bill Goldberg takes on Steve Mongo McMichael. Then we have Raven, who decides not to wrestle and actually announces somebody else to face Chris Benoit in his Ravens Rules match. Buff Bagwell is going to take on Lex Luger. DDP is going to take on Kurt Hennig for the U.S. title. Larry Zbyszko and Eric Bischoff. Eric Bischoff with Scott Hall in his corner are going to take on, are going to have a match for control of Nitro. Bret Hart is the referee. And in the match that is going to be highlighted in this episode will be Sting and Hogan for the WCW World title. Alright. First things first, from when the card started. This is probably one of the best intros I've ever saw. If you guys have not seen it, I advise you to go watch it. Sting is actually kind of by himself, if you will, saying he's in the shadows. And they actually zoom in on his eye, and that's when you get to the Starrcade logo. Drace, what did you think about this intro, and do you wish WWE would do more intros like this to their pay-per-views?
Well, to start off, the intro was really good. If WWE would get these more often, I think they would have a lot more views.
Yeah, definitely some stuff to drag in there, people. But then after that, we cut straight to the commentators who are talking about Kevin Nash. So, for some reason, Kevin Nash did not show up to the building. He was actually scheduled to face the Giant. Then they're talking about the main event, obviously Sting and Hogan, and then who the ref is going to be. We cut to the Cruiserweight title match. Dean Malenko, who's that? Dean Malenko and Eddie Guerrero in the WCW Cruiserweight Championship match. I don't know what you thought about it, Dreas, but for the first part of it, I thought it was pretty boring.
Yeah, really, actually.
I mean, Eddie Guerrero is just stalling on the outside pretty much the whole match. Comes in, he's literally begging Malenko to give him mercy. He actually at one point kisses Malenko's boots. And the commentators are not even really paying attention to this match. The commentators for tonight are Tony Schiavone, Dusty Rhodes, and one of the old TNA commentators. I don't remember his name. But they're all talking about where Nash is and stuff, except for Dusty Rhodes, who points out the big power slam that Dean Malenko actually gave Eddie. One of the best power slams I've personally ever saw. And then we get back to the match, and Eddie actually wins with a frog splash onto the hurt knee that he'd been targeting of Dean Malenko's, and wins 1, 2, 3. Dave Meltzer rates it 2.5-star match, and it was very boring, and Eddie was definitely pulling out his heelish tactics here. What did you think about the match overall, Driss? If you had to give it a star rating.
I agree with him, 2 stars. Because Eddie was throwing, the whole match. Commentators were not participating except, Cody Rhodes.
Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah, Dusty.
Oh, a great start. And then we're going to go ahead and cut over to the NWO music playing when Scott Hall comes out. And he's doing his NWO survey, saying who's here to see WCW. The crowd goes kind of wild. And who's here to see the... And then the whole crowd goes, NWO. And then he says, well, Hall's not showing up. And if you guys got a problem with it, you can go see him there. And a crowd member yells, well, Wells, where? You know where is. We didn't. He just didn't want to tell us. He's probably at home The Giant comes out and says Nash is a giant piece of crap for not trying to fight him. And honestly, if he was going to step in the ring with him, I wouldn't want to face me either. The Giant kind of kills Hall right now after Hall throws his toothpick in his face. Instead of setting over the choke slam like he normally does, he goes, no, 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 and hits him with a jackknife. What'd you think about that kind of controversy instead of hitting the choke slam into the jackknife, Dress?
He was trying to send him a message like he wants to fight him. He wants some competition.
I like it. I like it from WCW. Next up, we have our first of NWO versus WCW showdowns as the Steiners and Ray Taylor with Ted DiBiase take on Scott Norton, Vincent, and which was supposed to be Conan, but since the NWO won War Games, it actually ended up being the Macho Man, Randy Savage. Macho Man actually wins with the elbow drop. What'd you think of this match overall? Personally, I thought it was pretty boring. Thought it was slow paced. I thought the Macho Man thing was really cool though. What'd you think?
Yeah, the match was very slow, but it was actually very exciting.
Yeah, it was towards the end. And I loved his entrance when he came out because a lot of the WCW guys were sitting in the crowd ready to support Sting. And Macho Man tried to pick a bone with all of them. I thought that was pretty cool. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to Mean Gene. He was given the hotline number. I believe it's 1-900 1-800-900 9999. That's the WCW hotline. Don't call that. That is not a thing anymore. Do not call that. But then he brings an interview with J.J. Dillon, who is the commissioner of WCW at the time, and he gives the referee, and the referee comes out to be Nick Patrick. Dreas, can you believe it?
No, actually.
Nick Patrick gets reinstated on this night. He says even though he was part of the NWO at one point, when he got reinstated, he has not shown him any reason that he cannot ref this match. If you guys don't know, WCW was trying to pick the ref, but J.J. Dillon said, They did kind of a lottery, I guess, and Nick Patrick got the draw. At one point, I believe they were supposed to try to get Earl Hebner to try to do this, but we'll get more into that in the main event. The main event's going to take up most of our time here on this podcast. Now we're going to go into Bill Goldberg versus Steve Mono McMichael. Dre's predictions for this match. Did you think it was going to go as long as it did, or did you think it was going to be another Goldberg spear, jackhammer, get out of there?
I thought it was going to be another quick one.
So Goldberg makes his way to the ring. Steve Mongo McMichael's actually just chilling up there, doing nothing. Goldberg says, get your ass to the ring. He doesn't get to the ring as quick as he wants him to, so Goldberg rushes the ramp, and it turns into a big brawl where he actually ends up carrying Steve all the way to the ring, throws him into the ring, and leans a table up against the, the ring post? Yeah, the ring post.
Yeah, the ring post.
And, I don't know why he set it up against the ring post of all places. Maybe a spear into it. What'd you think about that?
I thought he was going to screw him.
Then... Keep going, sorry.
Yeah, I thought he would maybe reverse it and hurt himself.
Yeah. Then we go into the match. And for some reason, Bill's over here got him in like an ankle lock, something. I guess we're trying to turn him into a submission specialist. What'd you think about that? Dreas, have I lost you?
I was not focused.
Oh, you're good. What'd you think about them having Goldberg come out there and hit the Kurt Angle ankle lock for some reason?
First of all, you don't think Goldberg would do a submission anyways.
Yeah, I mean, especially at this time. Like, this is the Goldberg who's like, what, 50 million and 0?
Yeah.
So, then Goldberg actually hits the spear and grabs the table and sets it up. He actually picks up Steve Mongo McMichael, and I'm sure you were thinking this too. He was looking to try to drop him on his head through the table. And the ref actually, what would you say, kind of like pulled the guy off of him? I mean...
Yeah, like intentionally.
Yeah, and Mongo McMichael actually falls on to Goldberg for a 2 count, but then Bill he Irish whips him onto the apron, and Bill punches him right through it, and he get chance of ECW. I mean, what'd you think about that? ECW chance at a WCW Starrcade. And if you guys don't know, Starrcade is pretty much WCW's WrestleMania. What'd you think about that, Dreas?
thought it was pretty cool. The fans were loving the match actually.
Right, even though it was a little longer when they saw him go through the table. I mean, the crowd lit up with ECW chants. Then Goldberg gets in, hits your jackhammer. Oh, actually, I might point out, Mongo McMichael had a whole splinter hanging out of his back. That was so gruesome. But Goldberg gets the jackhammer. 1, 2, 3. Bit of a longer match, but I mean, I guess you got what you wanted out of it. Bill Goldberg wins the match, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. So now we go into Raven comes out. He's scheduled to face the crippler Chris Benoit. But when he signed his contract, he said he's not playing by y'all's rules, trying to sound like he owns the place or something. I don't really know what he's talking about. But he tells the WWE or the WCW crowd that he will not be wrestling tonight, and that he was going to have one of his members from the flock wrestle. So he actually calls out Perry Saturn to wrestle Benoit in a Ravens rules match. Now, I don't know about you. When I saw this match, this was not a Ravens rules match. No hardcore stuff happened whatsoever, except for really just Raven and them getting involved towards the end. Saturn was actually kind of attacking the neck the whole match. Raven hits him with the Raven DDT, spiked him on his neck. Saturn locks in the Saturn lock, and that's it. Saturn wins with the help of the flock. All right, so in the end, Jace, what'd you think about this match with Saturn and Benoit? Man, I was really hoping to see Raven and Benoit. I thought it'd be a classic from their time in ECW, but I believe this was actually one of the turning points, correct me if I'm wrong, where they wanted to offer Raven a new contract to actually have him wrestle, but he decides to leave and go to ECW.
I think that was a good choice for him.
I do too. I do feel like he has a home in ECW. I feel like he always will. That's where the Raven character kind of started. Not kind of started. That's where it started. It's where it originated at, was in ECW. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to our second WCW versus NWO, where representing the NWO, Buff Bagwell takes on Lex Luger. What'd you think about this match overall?
It was pretty solid, actually.
Was solid. Definitely had its boring moments, though.